Hi, everybody. This is part two of my awakening and ascension experience through psilocybin mushrooms back in 1979. I got chopped off in the part one at the end, and so I was just going to try to tell the whole thing in one video, but I think it might be easier to make it into parts. Let's go ahead and do it that way. Um, where I got chopped off at was I had just begun to ascend, and I was realizing that I was in the presence of divinity, God, and Christ, and I'm still kind of in my sense of uh, my not my physical body, but my earthly identity, myself, and who I think Ken Clegg is right now. I'm still kind of that, and it didn't completely ever leave, but my mind had separated from my brain. It wasn't slowed down by the channels, the physical channels. Even though the brain works like lightning compared to your mind, you're just pure free mind, no physicality. It's nothing in comparison. And that's kind of what's happening. My mind is separating from the brain. I'm realizing that. And the first thing that comes to I'm going to question God. Why is there so much suffering? And that's what I was going on about at the end of the last video. Uh, and I was kind of really describing it more there, but it ended with before I could even form that question, why all the suffering? What the fuck's up? Um, just going into that question brought the answer. I mean, I immediately understood it, and in a way that I'd never ever understood before. And it was real obvious. I mean, it was plain, simple, obvious all along. The first, if we were just to go through life happy, content, nothing ever happened bad, we would never reach outside ourselves. We would be so content inside. We would never even think there's anything more to ourselves, life, existence, than this perfect happiness that we're in all the time. Um, but when we do start to suffer, sometimes there doesn't even have to be anything really causing the suffering. It just kind of wells up inside you. The pain of existence or something. And it's not there all the time, but it's there. And that kind of suffering. This seems like a nature of part of the nature of the world, of life, to feel this way. That, or when things really do go bad, and you're hurting, you're crying out, you just want to cry, you just want to say help. We reach out outside of ourselves, outside of this world, outside of whatever it takes for something, anything. And that's probably the first times we really, all of us really reach out to God in spirit, something inside ourselves, something somewhere else. And that's what starts the ball rolling. Without that pain, without that suffering, we might not never ever reach out. We never get the ball rolling and just stay right where we're at. It's a necessary component. And I seen it right away, how it all worked like that. And then the next thing was why I don't know how to fit in. And I'm surprised this is coming as easy. This is coming easier, way easier. I didn't know what the next thing was, but then as soon as I needed it, it was there. Why don't I fit in? And there was like a vision in my head, even though I'm not even, I feel like I'm standing up somewhere, like right there in the tent almost, but actually, I'm still sitting down and laughing my head off, apparently, because that's what I was doing when I got back. but I felt like I was standing and I could see an anthill with all these ants scurrying around everywhere, just busy doing whatever, ants do, but they're busy and they're doing. And that was the point. These are doers. They do. That's what this world is made of, a bunch of doers. But then there's thinkers. And then it showed me this owl above the anthill in a tree. This owl's just sitting there thinking, like, wise old owl. And that's what you are. He said, you're that owl. You're a thinker. You're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to be down there doing. You're supposed to be up here thinking. Well, try to fit in. And I'm pretty action oriented. I like to do. And I like to be in with the doers, but I don't fit in with them. Sometimes it drives me nuts. As a Pisces, I just got to have a little bit of seclusion sometimes where I go think. It's true. And when I seen that, I made an instant realization that I need to kind of promote that or work with it and elevate it and use it more. And not be so like critical in a sense of not doing enough and thinking too much, being that way. At that point in my life, I had a sense that there was something wrong with it. There was something wrong with me because I didn't fit in with the doers. And I didn't think a thinker was as valuable as a doer. There was something wrong or lacking there. But then I seen that it wasn't that way at all. And so, yeah, I was able to immediately kind of acknowledge that I needed to build that part up more. And then something really just started to happen more. I mean, this whole experience is just getting more and more intense. This intensity, this clarity of mind. So it was just like, even without asking the questions, your level of knowledge, you're tapping into something that's aware of everything, that knows everything. And I started to realize that. Because these answers are just coming almost unbidden. I'm trying to ask questions, but before I can even ask these questions, these answers are there. And I'm starting to realize this is expanding. This is even getting more so. And at that point, somewhere, I kept kind of realizing it more and more, and it kept getting more and more intense. And just kind of more and more and more what it was. Complete freedom of mind and just clarity beyond earthly description. The perfection of it. And the precision of the perfection is at a point where it's beautiful. And then the beauty is like love. And there's this knowledge that goes, it's like the love takes it all in. The love is the all-encompassing level. We want to kind of go from duality to singularity. Go to love, go to unconditional love. When you love something so much, you're smiling through tears because you're so vulnerable. That's the amount of love that you just, you don't even consider yourself at all. You're just completely vulnerable because you love something unconditionally so much. And the thing that you love is going to hurt you. It's just the nature of everything. Eventually, it's going to hurt you. And you can feel it because you're already, there's nothing you can do about it. It's coming and you just let yourself. And the tears come and the smile's there because you're in love and you're in pain at the same time. Love does that. Nothing else does it. Takes those two opposites. The joy, the sorrow, the love and the pain, and it brings it into a single experience. That's the key to breaking down duality into a singularity through love. Unconditional love. At the most divine, highest level. Total self-sacrifice. I'm seeing this. Like for the first time in my earthly mind, I've never even dreamed of anything like these things. I've lived a secular life. Raised Catholic, but that didn't mean nothing. That just probably increased my doubt more than anything. And here's the truth. Here's the proof. Here's the reality. And the reality begins to morph and change. And you really are able to compare infinity to this finite reality. And it dwarfs this reality into nothingness instantly. Infinity is just a time and space alone. But it's not just time and space. It's all these thoughts and knowledge and feelings and love and beauty. And all of a sudden it just opened up in my chest. This whole dimension of heaven. This whole reality. Eternal and infinite. And just beyond comprehension. You can just only be it. And that's why I became heaven. I didn't die and go to heaven. And I don't even know if anybody does. I opened up and became heaven. And that was absolute. I knew exactly what it was. There wasn't a doubt in my mind. My mind understood exactly what was going on. And I recognized it as almost like coming back somewhere. But it was almost at the same time like I'd never left. I recognized it. And the Godhead, like the full presence of God is there. And the Christ. And I'm not talking about Jesus. I'm talking about a collection of all the souls from the earth. All the life that earth gives birth to has soul. And all these souls collect into a unity that is the Christ. And the Christ and the earth make a union at some point. When, I don't know, the Christ matures or all the souls are collected or what point. But it was like there was a point where they made union and became this huge spiritual being that ascends into the Godhead. That's God. There's a oneness there. And we are, and when you experience it, you're not going to experience it as a collection of, you're going to experience it on a singular basis as yourself. You become that union between the Christ and the earth. You are it. And you're the one that's ascending into the Godhead. You are God. And a lot of people find that maybe like sacrilegious to claim that, but it's exactly what I experienced. And it took the Indians to teach me to believe in my inner experiences as much or even more than my outer ones. Remember it says, the inner reality is more real than the outer reality. And it's the truth. I believe I've experienced it. I've lived my life by that. And it's there like that, just open up. Sometimes it just takes me there, and I just like that. I started screaming, Lord, Lord, Lord. And in a sense, I wasn't calling out to anyone. It was like I'm just saying, I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. But Lord was also associated with the idea that Christ consciousness is there. That union between the earth. Lord, 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 I'm back, I'm back. Oh. And it started to hit me. This is spiritual rebirth. This is not what we teach on earth. What we go through on earth is just, at the very best, it's a small semblance, or a lot of cases, it's just acting out. You need this. You need to ascend. You need to leave your mind I mean, leave your brain, at least, your body, whatever it takes, be able to ascend into the spirit like this. Then was the full spiritual rebirth. And that's what I was seeing. This is my spiritual rebirth. This is who I've always been. And there was definitely a presence of my being in this dimension of heaven. But I was heaven too at the same time. My being was just, it was a whole dimension. That's what it was. It wasn't just something inside a dimension. And I'm pretty sure when we raise into these higher dimensions, that's what we're doing. We're one with everything because we are that thing. We're the whole dimension. And that's what I was saying. I was this whole dimension of heaven. And everything was there. There's not one that doesn't go. There was no vision of hell or punishment for evildoers. They were transformed, just like we all were. Everybody, nobody got there on their own. All the knowledge, all the ability, everything that you could do in a spiritual life to work towards ascension and gaining the spiritual rebirth, gaining this dimension of existence, and reclaiming yourself, your full self. You can't do it without the best thing I got is grace of God. Because there's something there. And it's unpredictable. I don't even know if God knows sometimes how it will work. But it's not going to be any of the things you're expecting. It's going to be something you never expected. It's going to be something you never thought of. It's going to be totally unpredictable. It's going to be spontaneous. It's going to be completely synchronized to this point of just, bam, it's there. The wild card opens it up. Everything you've been working for, finally. And that can come to everybody, no matter what level they're at. Sometimes I think it comes to the ones that have worked towards it. Yeah, it comes to them maybe easier. But it comes to everybody. And we interpret it on different levels. That's why when we break it down into these lower levels, we're going to interpret it on those levels of perception. And it's important to bring the spirit down and just bring the experience of ascension down into these lower levels. It transforms them. It feeds them. It, merges energies with them. But also our experience and our perceptions of it change to fit those dimensions. And so in this earthly dimension, from that experience, the closest thing that I see in this earthly realm to represent what God really is our breath. Our breath's the one. It's completely unnoticeable. We don't ever think about it. It's constant. It's always there. It's for everybody. With you from the day you're born to the day you die, just like God. And to me, I think it's the highest representation in this kind of symbolic realm of earthly existence of the higher realms. Our breath is the closest example we have down here of God. The pureness of it. The highest part of it. It just looks like, we're breathing. Yeah, everybody does it. No big deal. And anyway, back to the story. I'm seeing how everybody's there and everybody's transformed by the grace of God. And it's everywhere, but it's totally unrecognizable. It just pops out. And it has to be that way. It's the only way it works. It's like this wild card in the deck that's just going to pop up when and wherever. No man knows the day or there, and I don't think God does either. It's the way it works. It's like our death. Our death is directly tied to it. It's like if we don't figure it out before death will definitely give you an opportunity. And sometimes we miss it even then. We just go through the rebirth cycle. seeing this about how heaven just couldn't even be heaven, how I couldn't be heaven without everybody and everything there. It was all the same thing. It was all one thing. We are all one thing. And every part of that one thing has to be there to make the one thing whole. But then it became about a multitude of differences. Just beyond comprehension in a way. It was like innumerable, just the level of versions and replications and similarities, but not it, and just versions of universes and realities and individual existences within those universes. And all that. And it was like each one of those had billions of versions of its own self. There's billions and billions and billions of these kind of like universes and realities to exist in, and all the things that do exist in those things, they have billions of versions of themselves. And I was seeing how that grace of God, it's like, okay, just take me. We got, maybe, later on through avenues, I experienced billions of lifetimes. I've died billions of times before. That's when I recognize dying. I've died billions of times. But also each one of those billions of past lives, or maybe I should say simultaneous lives, because I really do feel that way, but I'm talking about past lives in most people's eyes. I really do believe all these existences are simultaneous. And there's things that, from this point of view, we perceive them as past lives. And there's a billion versions of each one of those past lives. There's a billion of the past lives, and there's a billion versions of each one, or even more. And throughout all these billions of versions of this lifetime right here, right now, my existence right here, out of all these billions of versions of this, in every moment, all these versions are going through it at the same time. Each moment by moment. But each one's a little bit different. And out of all these different billion, there's going to be a very high moment in one of these versions, like God high. And when you isolate from each of these versions, wherever that God moment was, eventually it strings out into a full lifetime of nothing but pure God moments. That's what, when we talk about timelines merging, that's what I think is happening. All these different moments throughout our life, there's a version somewhere experiencing Godhead. And you do the most perfect, best thing. You are the most perfect, best thing. And when we merge timelines, we're isolating out the crap moments for those Godhead moments. All the other versions that didn't attain that get merged into nothing, and we just got the Godhead left. And you can do that for each moment until eventually you have your whole lifetime thrown out into these perfect versions of yourself. We're really, by this point, the perfection of it all. The precision is just so far beyond anything, can earthly imagine. There's a beauty to the precision. And the beauty inspires this love. And, it's just a perfection. Divinity, divine perfection. And I've kind of lost my train of thought. I knew it was next a second ago. I get caught up in it. It just sweeps me away, and then I forget where the hell I even am. Along with it's part of the story of that. Oh, That's gone. Getting into the perfection. There's no hell. Everybody's there. Oh yeah, the timeline's merging and all the perfect moments being lined out. And then it was this life, this one particular version. And I was, when they say your life flashes before your eyes, it was like that. But what the point of it was to show me how perfectly orchestrated it was. It wasn't a part of this divine perfection. It was this divine perfection. My life, your life, everybody's lives. Each moment, every event, it is that divine perfection operating. And it's guiding you exactly where you need to be. Even the mistakes we make in life, they're the right choices. It's perfectly orchestrated. And at the same time, through all these moments, God, Creator, whatever it is that's trying to get you to wake up, your higher self, it's trying to talk and reach you and speak to you and make contact with you through these orchestrated moments. That's what they're orchestrated around. This God going, hey, I'm here. And I could see all that. That's what, when my life was being shown, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing the perfect orchestration of it and how the presence of God was, whatever it was, I was interacting with a person, a thing, a situation. It was God trying to reach me. And one of the incidents, and there's highlights that pop out where it was like, and it was especially strong here and especially strong there. One of them was my mom was spanking me. And I'd been babysitting, I don't know, 11 or 12 probably. Kids had been running, 11 or 12 trying to babysit 5 little kids. It was chaos. And of course, when she got home, that's what she found. Chaos had been running amok for hours. And I was getting my ass whipped. But the point was, she was telling me, you're smarter than the rest of the kids. And God was telling me, that's what I'm saying now. This is me reaching you now. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You're smarter than all the kids. God's kids. All of us. And at that point, I might have been smarter than all the kids of God. Which doesn't mean just us here on earth. There's a whole universe of children. God's children. Beings from everywhere. They're all God's children. Even the ones we think of as the devil or bad, it's all God's children. They all got perfectly orchestrated lives and ways of being for what God needs for them to do and be to get them where God needs us all to be. I don't know if he really needs, but that's what's going on. This is how it works. It's all good to the fullest extent. Maybe on an earthly extent. And that's what I was doing. I was just basically seeing my life play out before my eyes. I've seen that I'm heaven. And then the next thing I know, I'm back in my body. And it's even still jerking. And I stopped laughing right away. And now I really feel the mushrooms again. I mean, they're strong. And everything had this red tint to it. And then there's like this residual. All these not afterthoughts, but the realizations about this reality are. I'm getting these insights. The first thing was I said the government made this illegal because they don't want anybody finding this shit out. There was a huge feeling that this was what somebody on this planet, very powerful, did not want people doing. And not just recently through the hippie era, but maybe for a long time. There was something out to squelch this type of experience, this type of information, this type of self-realization. And I seen it as the government. But I think it's bigger than that now. Religion. Like, man, nobody was teaching this anywhere. You know? It was way beyond anything I'd ever heard of. Nobody was even going here. We are God. We are heaven. Always have been, always will be. You know, and when you enter into this kind of realm, eternal. Eternal's always been, always will be, but it's always expanding. It's always becoming 10 million, billions of times more of what it is than it was a second ago. You know, it just multiplies itself exponentially. And that intensity, that feeling of all these beauty and perfection and love and happiness and familiarity of belonging and like coming home. It just keeps getting more and more intense. This is not about time and space going on forever, ever. It's about this whole experience going on forever and becoming more and more intense every second. And it's just, the whole experience is just way beyond any kind of earthly thing you can imagine. And it makes you want to laugh. And I always thought that's why we laugh on mushrooms, because you just want to bust out laughing. And that's what I was doing on those mushrooms. I was laughing. And I was sitting there, and I'm kind of realizing that this reality isn't real. It's finite. It has a creation point and it has an ending. And it goes through these cycles of being created and ending, creating and ending. And that's kind of how this goes on and on and on. It has to have a birth and death cycle, though. We'll get into more of what this nature of this reality really is, but this is definitely a part of the process of this reality. And the universe is a part of this reality. And it goes through it too. And all the different versions of the universe. You know, just on all these different levels of existence, whether you're a human being or an animal or a universe or a planet or whatever, there's billions of versions of yourself, all operating simultaneously. And some very alternate versions of yourself that seem has alternate existences, past lives, past existences. And those are very alternate, but it is still you, no matter who you or what you are. And the universe is like that. There's billions of universes, but there's billions of versions of them too, of each one. Just got to think of everything. And anyway, you get into this, even though there's this countless amount of billions of big realities, physical realities and universes and on and on and on, it's still finite. It has a beginning and it has an ending. That makes it finite. And I don't care what it is. If it's finite and you compare it to infinity, it just immediately, obviously, just gets dwarfed into pure nothingness, as if it never existed. It just gets completely overwhelmed. I mean, it's just over. I don't know how to describe it. It just gets dwarfed. I mean, let's start with the universe being as big as it could be. You got arms way up here trying to, whatever. And this point, this one little point, God, eternity, infinity. And it's starting from this one point, it's starting to expand. And pretty soon, it's as big as the universe, too. And then it continues past it, though, because the universe is finite. This is infinite. And it just keeps going and going and going. And as it keeps getting bigger and bigger, this finite reality just starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller in comparison. Until it's a tiny point, just disappears into nothingness. There's probably always some kind of residual there, but it's hard to be recognizable at some point. That's how huge infinity is. And for the magnitude of how huge it is, that's how intense it is too. Anyway, I'm back here in this reality. And I'm realizing that if aliens know how to fly through space and come here, like they may be able to. I mean, it's 1979. I'm pretty hip on the idea of extraterrestrials, but I don't know. But thought that went through my mind. If they know how to fly through space and come here, they know how to feel like this. It's just there was an association of an advancement. If you're that advanced in technology, you're going to be that advanced spiritually as well. There had to be a balance there. That's what I was seeing. But at a certain point, when you have really high technology, you're going to need really high spirituality to work with it properly. That's what I saw. And then it took a long time. Those people had been around longer than us, aliens. But they were going to know how to feel like this. I knew that. They knew what this was. And then kind of back to the suffering thing. My mind had been washed to where I didn't care. I mean, we're talking about universes and these, innumerable, just expansive existences of entire realities being dwarfed into nothing. What's a human life? What's 100 years? I mean, even if you live 100 years, what is that compared to? It's even smaller. I mean, that's even more nothing. And here was the thing. I didn't care if every day of my life was nothing but pure hell for 100 years. Just suffered the most anybody had ever. It was worth it. For what was on, for what eternity and infinity and all this whole Ascension experience was, it was so worth it. You should gladly commit carry every day of your life if you knew where you're really heading to, what you really are. It doesn't matter. And believe me, I get caught up in it, Shit, I hurt, feel miserable, and forget all about all this kind of stuff. It's like God Almighty, living in this world can be just, you get sucked up into it. We all do. Even Jesus did. He has a little rampage there at the temple when they're the money changers, remember? And that was the thing. I experienced Christ, but I had, there was no image of Jesus or even an idea of Jesus other than as a collection of all the souls. And I came away with the understanding that who or whatever Jesus was probably nothing more than any of us. He was just attaining that Christ consciousness more than most people. I mean, everything that made Jesus anything was that Christ consciousness. And I think really Jesus probably would have been nothing. It was like, he was the son of a carpenter. What the fuck is that? That's nothing. I think that's what that's trying to say. Hey, this guy is nothing. And then he becomes this wandering rabbi, basically a hobo, begging, for his meals and trading meals for parables or whatever. And he really was supposed to be nothing. And we've elevated him in a way that probably doesn't help anything. I think it would be better if everybody realized he was nobody like the rest of us. But he had attained something. He was able to attain it. And he might have had, according to John Allegro and the Sacred Cross and the Mushrooms, there's always been a huge mushroom cult back there throughout Asia and the Middle East, and way before Jesus' time. And he's kind of gone through some of the root words. Anyway, he was a Dead Sea scholar. I mean, he was on his shit. He knew what the hell he was doing. He was high, he was high up in that academic part of the all people that studied the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then he came out with Jesus being part of an Amanita cult, an Amanita mushroom, he got ostracized immediately. But the book was Sacred Cross and the Mushroom. And he traced the information through root words of the language. And here's something I knew from my experience, that you could control sound in a way. That's what I was thinking about Jesus. This is kind of right along in there after I'm back. But here's what I saw. I saw Jesus speaking parables. Because I'm thinking about it. Why wasn't Jesus there? And I'm seeing Jesus speaking parables. And he's controlling the tone, not the tones, but like the vowel sounds within the words that he was using to be a certain order, to form a certain pattern and a rhythm. And people were hearing these sounds through the words that he was speaking. But instead of really, and the words had an effect, because he's talking about the kingdom of heaven being at hand. It's here, right now, it's here. It's just on a different dimension and we can't see it. And that's what all this is really about, too. It's all right here. We don't go anywhere. We are it. It's here. We're just on this dimension where it's like invisible to us. But it's right here, right now. And that's what Jesus is telling people. And the way he would be able to control his words through the language that he used, Armenian, people were seeing it. He was like unlocking it was kind of like working like a psychedelic drug. Like, I don't know how to pronounce it, synesthesia. I've done that. I've heard sounds and seen colors, not on any kind of psychedelics, just from the sound being the right order of sounds, a pattern of sounds. What happened was I wrote a poem and I was reading out loud to myself, and I had this kind of double rhyme going on and then skipped a verse, and anyway, I had this kind of interlocking rhymes going on. And it's all hooked in these mid-sentence rhymes too. And there was all this vowel sound going on that was connected and rhythmic and rhyming to each other. And when I read that poem aloud, all of a sudden I started seeing these like orange orbs just everywhere. And I kind of felt like I was on acid for about the next 24 hours, mild acid. It was something I was affected. I was opened up. And I think that's what this was. And I remember thinking that. Oh, this is from that mushroom experience. This is what Jesus, it was like my own example of it. And I did it to myself, just reading that poem out loud. But I think that's what Jesus, I think that's how he gained such a huge following so quickly. When people listened to him, they weren't just hearing what he said, they were experiencing it for themselves. They were, oh my God, this guy is right. Here it is. In a way, what would you do? Anyway, so, I'm kind of having all this kind of after realizations, and I'm sitting there in a tent, and I'm definitely defining it as being reborn. I've just been reborn. This is the real rebirth. I didn't know any kind of word like ascension or even waking up, and seeing that something was going on in this reality that was suppressing. And that this reality was an illusion, basically, because it got dwarfed into nothingness. And whatever we did here was like nothing. So it was a lifetime of suffering, whatever. And it was, in the end, nothing. It didn't matter. All we had to do was just be born and die. It's a birthright. It's who we are already. And for God's sakes, I wish I could just go there now. I've always wanted to go back. I was so excited. I discovered the most amazing thing ever. And the first thing I want to tell my mom and my grandma, and I run all the way to that store to use the payphone. And I'm just like ecstatic. I'm just blabbing, trying to tell them everything. And I'm sure they thought I lost my mind out there in the woods. And then I come home. I couldn't shut up about it. I didn't get mad for 6 months after that. And I was pretty angry, even violent sometimes kind of person, young man. I get pissed off and fight at the drop of a hat. And I might give you a chance to hit me first, but I'm not. I come, there was like a beast inside me that would come out. And it was strong. It won fights. And it was angry, violent. That was gone. That was quieted. It wasn't gone. But I didn't feel it for 6 months. Until my ex-girlfriend showed up. The one that I was hollering about into the door. Her and her mom showed up and were trying to steal my horse from out from underneath me. When we were together, she wanted my horse over there in her mom's pasture so she could ride it. So we put it over there. Then we break up, and it's been months, only like a year and a half. And the horse is still over there. But nobody's doing anything with it. I'm not doing anything with it. She's not doing anything with it. He's just out there in the pasture. They show up and they think I'm trying to steal this horse out from under him, they said. I was like, what in the hell are you people talking about? But anyway, in the end, we kind of resolved it by then buying the horse from me for a very cheap price. But they pissed me off. I was pissed because I couldn't even believe what they were doing. And it wasn't right. I just went ahead and said, you know what, fine. You guys want to be shitty, but I'll be shitty. And what I did was I sold it to him, then I went out and stole him back. I waited a couple months, and I snuck out there in the middle of the night, and I whistled for my horse, and he come. And I had a bridle. I didn't even have a saddle. And his hooves were so long. They said they'd been spending all this money on taking care of him, for farriers and all that. And none of it was true. The first thing I did was take him out on the asphalt, and away we went until he broke all that excess hoof off. And then we headed over the hills. And we traveled about 30 miles a day to Patterson, Washington, to a friend to hide out across the Horse Heaven Hills. Spent the night there. Got a sleeping bag, tied it on my waist. Behind me. Took off for Bickleton. I was heading to where we had some marijuana plants growing up in the hills outside of Bickleton. I was just going to go camp out there, make a, like a brush corral, and just keep my horse there. Keep him where the plants were. Figure out what to do with him later. And I moved him towards the coast in Washougal, Washington. I had a friend staying there in a place. We trailered him over there, and he stayed there for a couple of years until somebody showed, about a year later, one of our, we're all from the same tiny town in Washington State. And Tony has moved to Washougal, high school buddies. And so we take the horse there. And then Alan shows up at Tony's, and he's got the hots on Lynn, who was my ex-girlfriend, and this whole horse thing is over. I mean, her mom showed up at Richard's after I sold that horse, and then we left him up in the mountains after I got the corral and all that made, and he was up there in the mountains. I come back down to Richard's, and I wasn't there 5 minutes at Richard's. Her mom showed up, had the 45 right in my nose. Like, where the fuck's that horse? And of course, I just denied everything. But we're all a bunch of hillbillies. There's a lot of gunplay. It's typical. But anyway, Alan sees the horse, and he's got the hots for Lynn. So he takes pictures and runs back to Lynn, showing, hey, I found your horse. Oh, that cocksucker. Excuse my language. I didn't ever like Alan anyway. In high school, I always wanted to I never did, but there's a few times I wanted to trash him. I know why, anyway. So, of course, I get arrested for horse stealing. In the process of that, I get a big old fight with the cops and beat them all up and escape. End up doing 11 months out of a year in the county jail. If I'd just gone to prison, it'd been better. God, I mean, this was like this old Cracker Jacks from the 1800s county jail. It was pure hell. Anyway, I got out just in time to go back. I went back to the mushrooms. I always did, every year. Let's see, how long is this now? Because I do try to repeat this. I come away, well, I'm trying. First, I'm at home. I'm trying to tell everybody. Nobody, how the hell are you telling me? Best way I could tell my friends was like a trip report and just make it hilarious, you know. And then, mom told me to go talk to the priest, and then it was kind of like, well, that only happens to the holy of the holy, and here, use this, whatever you are, this hippie, drug taking, whatever. I didn't qualify. Let's put it that way. I did not qualify for this level of divinity experience, whatever. And I needed to know what happened. That's all I want to know. I want to know what happened. And I don't have more mushrooms till next year. So I hit the university library. I started reading. Started studying all the religion. And back then there was no like new age kind of spirituality and books everywhere about all kinds of stuff. It was mostly religious texts, scriptures. And so that's what I get to weed through. And sometimes I read entire books and just get one sentence that helps it all a little bit, maybe. Most of it was just nothing that compared to what I had experienced at all. And I came away with the Jewish Kabbalah, mysticism, and how I defined it at a point, it was just a great mystery. That clicked. And then there was like the native side of it, where, their spirituality was kind of real nature-based. They lived with nature, Stone Age people, of course they do. And I was out in nature, and I was with real comfort and ease, and felt like, I belonged there. This is how I needed to live. That's what I was experiencing right before the whole mushroom, before it all started. Ascension. And so I kind of hung on to that too. And I really had an affinity for what native spirituality was like through my experience. And then later on, the Gnostics. It was years later that I read the Nag Hammadi. But especially the Gnostics' creation myth. That just clicks like crazy. I don't think they got it described. At their time period and their understanding of like technology and how a process like creation could even work, I think they're kind of limited in their description of it. But they're trying. They got a grasp of it. They just don't have, maybe the best terminology, but it clicks. I know what they're saying. I know what they're talking about. I know. And that's the whole thing about Gnostics, knowing. And so that's part of it, And I love creationists. To me, when I started studying all the scriptures and the religious texts, the creationists were the ones that were standing out too. There was information there, but you just kind of had to read through the code. And I don't know if I ever really found what I think is there in all these creationists, but I know it's there. There's something there. I love creationists. There's something there. Of course, then you get into the Sumerian, and we end up with the Anunnaki, and I wonder why. I'm wondering about creationists. But, and of course, back then I didn't know nothing about that. Nobody did. Anyway, I'll go ahead. This has probably been long enough. How many minutes we got going here? We got an hour almost. This will work. Next will be about the next fall when I come back and try to recreate the experience. All right, thanks everybody. We're getting this done. I can't believe we're getting it done. Cool.